Thank God we can't tell the future. We'd never get out of bed. I came across that recently. I thought it fit. We find ourselves in difficult and trying days. Not since the 1960s have we been so polarized and divided. Not since the Civil War I can think of have I known such pain, distrust, and brokenness of family relationships. Brother against brother, sister versus sister, separated by our beliefs, religion, dogma, politics. I know we say we don't want politics in church. I don't either. But all of it is politics. The art of regulating ourselves in community. We, our forebears, not just established, but ordained our form of government, quote, in order to establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty. Freedom. That's our preamble. How are we doing with all of that? My gang of hangout buddies feeds a texting stream which morphs from 3 to 5 or even 7 people sometimes. Some are more regular than others, contributing daily. Others chime in rarely. Some post mostly pictures and homemade videos of life adventures, family babies, trips and concerts, nature images. I send exotic animal photos. Others share news articles they find of current events and local happenings. We often get on a certain theme and we pontificate on that for a few rounds. We get weather updates from coast to coast as we now have souls in California and Florida. Some people post in the early morning, 4 a.m., while others of us have just signed off and gone to bed an hour or two before that time. And then there are the political essays, diatribes, anger, incredulity, true concerns for justice and for freedom. After the election of 2020, I largely excused myself from the political conversations. I grew weary of the negativity, the worry, the anxiety. I already had major falling outs, political falling outs with my family before Joe Biden won, before the January 6th invasion of the Capitol. Before it became clear that America was not finished, in fact, was fixated with DT and the MAGA movement. I had turned 67 years old and thought I had retired. I recently saw a shirt for sale I thought was perfect for me. It said, "Retired, not my problem." For a while, this became my new mantra, not my problem anymore. I told this to Joni, my friend of more than 30 years. She was not amused. Joni and I were partners when I first became Unitarian, Universalist. She knew me in the days of my Cape Canaveral protest, getting arrested, leafleting at Kings Bay Submarine Base in St. Mary's, Georgia, holding vigils while those white trains passed in deadly silence with their machine gun turrets and cargo of nuclear bombs on the way from St. Mary's to Texas, crossing county after county, town after town. Not my problem anymore. Time for the young generation to take over. Joni almost acted like I was a traitor. Or at least it made me feel that way. I wanted to quit, be lazy, kick back, retire. She thought I was being selfish. And I was. And tired. Joni's like a modern Rosa Parks. She too gets weary. But she makes sure when she sits down, it is in the right place. Sitting with a message, with a purpose. Then I received another message. It came wrapped in a triple bypass. A heart attack that by all indications ought to have killed me. What to make of that? I began to ask myself, if I am finished with my work, then why am I still here? I don't think it's to use up more of the earth's precious resources. That's not apparently the way of Unitarian Universalism. Olympia Brown, that great Universalist minister, the first female ordained by any United States denomination, had this to say about this religious business of ours. It's recorded in your hymnal also, number 578, if you want to see the whole thing. She said, every nation must learn that the people of all nations are the children of God and must share the wealth of the world. You may say this is impracticable, far away, can never be accomplished. But it is the work we are appointed to do. Sometime, somehow, somewhere, we must ever teach this great lesson. End quote. But freedom is costly. And I don't mean that as a tribute to the military. I don't mean that freedom isn't free. I mean it in a way that I think another Unitarian, Thomas Jefferson, did when he said, the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. I think it means I'm not allowed to quit. My moral compass won't allow. Audre Lorde, poet, philosopher, civil rights activist. For those of us who live at the shoreline, standing upon the constant edges of decision, crucial and alone. For those of us who cannot indulge the passing dreams of choice, for all of us, this instant and this triumph, we were never meant to survive. And when we speak, we are afraid our words still will not be heard nor welcomed. But when we are silent, we are still afraid. So it is better to speak, remembering we were never meant to survive. I was always a little bit afraid, uncomfortable in those days of protest. Like the Unitarian preacher William Ellery Channing, I could be called a, quote, reluctant radical. I mean, it was exciting, and I get into that sort of thing. But I made sure I surrounded myself with the sages of my time. John and Martina Lanahan, who had a home just outside the gates of St. Mary's Submarine Base for the train watch. Peg McIntyre, Grandmothers for Peace in St. Augustine. She created that movement. Mary Claire Vanderhorst from the Jacksonville UU Church. They were always, all my elders, involved in the Florida Coalition for Peace and Justice and other events. We don't have to stand alone or be the tallest tree in the forest. You don't even have to be good, as Mary Oliver said. Whoever you are, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. All you have to do, sometimes is be willing to sit down, but do it in the right place, at the right counter, on the right part of the bus. Yes, I grew quite weary of the political disaster blossoming for the last decade or so. But there's a new kid in town and I'm excited again. There's a verse in the Bible, it's in the Gospel of John. It says, "The light shines in darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." Other translations say, "The darkness can never extinguish it," or "the darkness did not comprehend it." All of that is true. The darkness doesn't get it. Now, it's very important to understand that the battle is between the proverbial darkness and the light. It is not between two political affiliations, two family members, two people of opposite persuasions or faith. People can disagree on politics and policies without hatred, without attempted assassinations, without vilification. Because if we can't do the difficult work of reconciliation, building bridges, how in the world do we expect the other side to do it? Because that worth and dignity clause, it isn't just for Unitarian Universalists. It does say everyone. Bishop Desmond Tutu reminded us that we are not the first to face the harsh realities of freedom. This is also in your hymnal where I got a lot of my sermon from, number 593, where he says, "Liberation is costly." Even after God delivered the Israelites from Egypt, they had to travel through the desert. There was starvation and thirst. They complained about everything. They complained their diet was monotonous. Many of them began to pine away for their better life in bondage, in slavery. Kind of like me, not wanting to be involved anymore. Bishop Tutu said we have to hold on. We must hold hands and refuse to be divided. We must be ready. Today is a celebration. It's a celebration of all souls. It's a celebration of freedom. On Sunday, July 21, Joe Biden announces he will not seek re-election. My heart got a new lease that day. We really never know what's coming, do we? Life is ever present. So we do get out of bed in the morning. And it's worth it. Kamala Harris is exciting. She is talking about issues. She is exciting the young, the female, the queer. What kind of country do we want to live in, she asks. A country of chaos, of fear, of hate? We choose something different, she says. We choose freedom. I entertained this topic of freedom a week or so ago. Inspired in part, yes, by the political atmosphere around this election. And I loved hearing the people of Birmingham describe the way the music carried the heart and soul of the civil rights movement. Reverend Price said it gave them the song they needed to go out. But I promise you, I did not know until 2 days ago that Kamala Harris is using Beyonce's hit song, Freedom, as her campaign song. But isn't the coincidence remarkably propitious and exciting? I said at the beginning of our service that this was not a political endorsement. It's a personal bias. And I am willing to show a video of Donald Trump. Equal time. It will not go well. Unless it's him being escorted to federal prison, maybe. He is almost universally despised among Universalists, if that is not too strong a term. It's easy to stand in this pulpit and say, love your neighbor, love your enemies. But Trump is the ultimate anti-Unitarian. If we had a Satan, he would win that election. This is just a sense that I have. Am I wrong? I know it's not universal, but we are of a pattern. I'm not jumping off any bridges if he wins, and I probably won't move to Portugal, although it's been discussed. But I am excited, like the 60s. I am excited again for freedom. I think I'm going to start calling her Camelot Harris. She wants the freedom not just to get by, but to get ahead. The freedom to be safe from gun violence. The freedom to make decisions about your own body. A future where no child lives in poverty. Where we can all afford health care. Where no one is above the law. That's what Camelot Harris wants. And I want what she's having. So may it be.